Hi there. I'm the man of Jackistan, and I have really heavy eyelids over here. It's like I have jet lag, from traveling around the world that's inside my head. Those of you that are listening to this, you can't really call me out for looking really stoned, which I'm not, for the record. My piss is hot, though. Might be a little too much information, but, they put me on this antibiotic, some dental procedures. I don't know, Augmentin threw me on it for a few days to fight this infection. Like my piss is just a lot yellower and a lot warmer, and it really makes you wonder. I don't know, maybe I'll do an episode about some body stuff, but today we're gonna talk about some spiritual stuff, and by that I mean charity, which is pretty much the worldliest version of a spiritual act that you can get. But given the time of year, Christmas is like 10 days away. You see these Salvation Army bell ringing guys outside of Walmart in the mall. I saw them at Walmart. And, since less people go physically shopping at stores and malls anymore, I'm wondering, will the Salvation Army replace those guys, phasing them out for these ads on the computer, which, have these actual Salvation soldiers or whatever they're called on a video chat. Like hundreds of people, as you're logging on to Amazon or whatever, and they're ringing these bells, and you click donate and donate right away. I personally don't donate to them. I don't condone their whole scheme there. They're like soldiers. Really, I don't even think they're called soldiers, but they should really be called slaves. Something along those lines, because they get paid pretty much nothing. You get free room and board, and once a week you get some Christian Bible-based therapy for your hardcore addiction problems. Because, that's definitely an efficient way to spend, vital funds helping people with severe issues. That's what the Salvation Army's, main deal is, that they take in people with alcoholism, addiction, this and that. No, see, the spiritual God stuff, it doesn't hold up to scientific scrutiny. The data does not show that simply focusing on connecting with God or Jesus is going to cure a person's disease, the disease of addiction. AA also, but the Salvation Army's whole approach, it doesn't utilize the money donated to them in a way that is used for any evidence-based treatments that are known to help people, that have been shown to help people. For the most part, like, sure, there's success stories that come out of it, but like a crackhead is just as likely to stop smoking rocks by joining a gym or moving to Oregon or getting a girlfriend or leaving their girlfriend or any other random thing. Basically, statistically, doing this whole Salvation Army thing does not really increase a person's chances of getting and staying sober. It's a pretty grim assessment. Like, in general, there's really, there's not a whole lot they're doing right in that field, but the whole foundation of medicine, revolves around evidence-based treatments. The idea being that doing those things are more likely to offer a better outcome for the patient than doing nothing or other things. I'm not saying that addicts in the pits of it shouldn't embrace God or Jesus or maybe some kind of DMT, super spirit, or whatever you can tap into, whatever wavelength is cool. I mean, but that all happens kind of on a different plane, so to speak, Jesus in the Bible, he picks up some coin and says something. He says, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God what is God's. And Caesar here is basically all earthly matters: your physical body, drugs that go into it, and diseases that result from things inside of that require an earthly response of some sort, like medicine with therapy. You can't essentially lure in a bunch of desperate, homeless junkies and alcoholics, promising them that they can get their shit together through your program of God stuff. I mean, restoring your family, get your kids back, getting this personal relationship with Jesus, and it'll vanquish your cravings, and abandoning the whole substance abuse issue. It does all that and more, at least according to its website. Do their program and you get that. Your mileage may vary. What else the Salvation Army offers its slaves, soldiers, bell ringers, whatever you want to call them. What else does it offer them? You have your God therapies, group sessions of some sort, and you can't forget holistic work therapy. Because carrying out the grunt work for a corporation posing as an organization like this definitely counts as medical treatment or some kind of, therapeutic exercise. I will say to some extent, like something like this can help. I mean, if you have an addict who hasn't held a job in, half a decade, a decade, this can help them kind of dip their toes back into the world of, retail, which they'll probably inevitably end up in afterwards, if not food service, or a third option of getting extremely lucky. It's sad, but it's also sort of true. But the point is, there are people who might not have worked or worked, extensively in a while, and getting them into a work-like routine, forming kind of the skeleton of good behaviors, it can be a good thing. It stops getting better at a certain point, though. At what point that is up for debate within, the whole, treatment community. And they themselves veer from real, normal, medicine and science a lot in and of themselves. I mean, trust me, I'll get to an episode about that at some point. But, some places will say 30 days, others will say 90 days, and they'll say that each day leading up to that, each additional day provides additional benefit. But then once you hit this arbitrary number, that happens to round off evenly to about a month or 3 months, 30 or 90 days. After that, extra time is not really going to help a person. It's just, they already have all the tools that they're going to get in that exact amount of time. Now, they don't say it exactly, but still, it's at the Salvation Army, though, they keep people for 6 months, 9 months, a year. All the while they have these guys working, having holistic work therapy, and they're in therapy for 40 hours a week, full-time job doing menial work, things like sorting through clothes and donations, moving stuff around, working in the thrift store. For their full-time retail work here, they're getting paid $10, $5, $1 a week. No, seriously, that's how much they're getting paid a week for this shit. The rationale behind it is that, they're getting their room and board and, the food, and they're getting that for free. And, you get the Jesus counseling, which is obviously top-notch. And, you're getting quite the bargain because rehab is expensive and God is priceless. Rehab is very expensive, though. I will say, like hundreds of dollars, $1,000 a day just to go in inpatient drug and alcohol treatment in this country. So if you fall into the group of 28 million Americans who are lacking any health plan at all, or the tens of millions more who have just sucky health coverage, the prospect of inpatient, it's just sad. I mean, there's people taking out like loans, like giant loans, just hoping that, that money will, get their son sober again, get him into a rehab. And, they're sending him into a system that really just proves to be fairly ineffective in most of its approaches. But the Salvation Army costs nothing compared to that. So on that level, if you're going to decide to enter into a inpatient style setting, Salvation Army costs you nothing. There's no massive medical debt once you leave, but at the same time, you accrue nothing while you're there. In rehab, you don't earn money, but you're not there as long. But the whole year where you're getting this little allowance of $10 a week, it doesn't really create much of a nest egg. And speaking of nests, they also keep you there for a really long time and never let you leave that nest. And then there's people who want to get into it that they, categorically deny. Although they deny denying them now. But, there's the whole LGBT angle, LGBTQIA+, 4YHZ, Salvation Army doesn't have a very warm stance towards any of those letters. As recently as 2012, publicly, it was on a radio show. Someone from the Salvation Army basically implied that they believed gays deserved death. He didn't flat out say it like that, but this Salvation Army guy was asked about a Bible quote that they included, oddly enough, in their Salvation Army handbook. And it's interpreted to mean that, gays should die for being gay. And the interviewer asked, if they believe that Bible quote and that guy's gay, does the guy think that he should die? And the Salvation Army guy said, it's part of their belief system. And then, the interviewer was like, oh shit, he asked him again and he reaffirmed, quote, "We have an alignment with scriptures, but that's our belief." So this organization, has on numerous occasions publicly apologized to the LGBTQ community for their perceived transgressions against them. They say, that this is not a thing they do, blah, 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 but the record tells a very different story, going back decades. In multiple countries, they've protested legislation which decriminalizes or normalizes homosexuality. They tried to, petition against a law that would make being gay not sodomy anymore in New Zealand. That was in the 80s. They tried to persuade the Bush administration to basically exempt religious charities that are receiving federal funding from having to abide by local ordinances that prevent discrimination against gay people. So basically it would allow them to, as an organization, supersede the local law and discriminate against gay people in admissions, in employment. I guess they backed off, but that was only after the story went public through the Washington Post. So definitely there's an established pattern here of them kind of sneakily fighting against these LGBTQ rights, and then they get caught and then they apologize. But the thing is, they're not just doing it within their own organization. They're doing it on behalf of trying to affect policy for entire countries: UK, New Zealand, United States. So, if you want your spare dollar or two when you're walking out of a store to fund some quasi-religious corporation lobbying to, keep the gays away, you found a winner in that one. Side note, in a weird way, like racist and homophobic organizations, they kind of have a similar way of speaking in the increasingly PC era. Like by the 1990s and after that, groups like the KKK, they stepped away from this whole, overt violence thing publicly. Their organizations dealt with white pride, not, black hate. And likewise, the Salvation Army, it perpetually denies that it has anything homophobic or transphobic about it, but they support the scriptures, which is it's the same thing. So are they doing the most good, as their slogan says? It depends on your perception of good. For people who have any tinge of empathy or progressiveness, or people who support pragmatic and evidence-based operations, they would all conclude quickly that no, they do not do the most good. They're their PR though, I mean, they have a really almost like a monopoly on Christmas time donations. Not a monopoly, but I mean, that's like the only charity I can think of, that's consistently outside of stores, just getting tons of money, and people just reflexively, oh, it's a charity, I'll give to it. I think a lot of people don't really look into what they're giving to. It just makes them feel good to give. That's why people do it around one time of the year specifically. But find a different charitable organization if you want to help. And this is a big one. Give them money. Some old canned cream of potatoes that you don't want to eat and your family doesn't want to eat. People who don't have a lot of money don't want to eat that shit either. We've got the same taste buds. Rich people, poor people. No one wants that cream of potato bullshit. Money is the best thing that you can donate. And like I said, like most people are just donating tons of money between Thanksgiving and Christmas, like 4 weeks out of the year. Some of it might have to do with, unloading charitable donations before the year's up. And, the whole giving season thing, but really it's better, to give it incrementally throughout the year, at once a month or once a week. I think the spaced out donations, personally, they make me feel better. And it kind of serves as a reminder that people need help and that I'm helping somehow. $10 probably doesn't do much, but every week I send a UNHCR, like the UN Refugee Relief Agency. They get that, and knowing that someone's life will get just slightly better because of money, that's fine. That I'd probably just spend on a sandwich or some shit online or fucking something stupid. But somebody in Syria is going to get water, vaccinations. I was reading recently they give people there money to start up businesses and rebuild their lives. $200 American helps these people, build businesses that can then support their families. And they got a lot of kids over there, some of them. So, it's, there's these people in these awful war-torn places, their whole homes have been destroyed. And it helps them. Warm blankets and these tents. I didn't actually know, until I saw this on the website, very recently. They get crazy, blizzards over there in the winter in Syria. You don't think of it. I always picture, the sand and stuff like that, but not, piles of snow. But I just looked on Google a couple minutes ago, and it's 40 degrees right now in Damascus. There'll be a high of 54. That's not what I think of when I think of, a Middle Eastern country, but, it's what it is. But anyway, there's a ton of, great causes you can give to out there. There's websites, if you're not sure, like givewell.org. That's givewell.org, and charitynavigator.org. They can help you assess the efficiency of various charities. How much of your dollar is going to help these people and things like that. So that's if you're going to give money, you want it to go to something that's being used properly. Also, I just recommend in general not falling in it, because I did this for the longest time, this trap of I'll just donate a ton of money when I'm rich, but right now, I need to get, I don't make a ton of money, and I do have a lot of fucking bills, but $10, it's not really that crazy, and honestly, I might not ever get rich. Maybe that's not going to happen, perhaps, really, if everybody just gave something really small to something really good, I don't know, it's a pipe dream kind of in that context, but actually, really the best charitable donation you can make, maybe not the best, but one that I would argue is voting. You vote for candidates who will support programs like expanding access to SNAP, the food, lunch for kids in school, access to healthcare for everyone, good housing. That's like, ultimately getting millions, billions of dollars pumped into these places that need them. Not necessarily out of your pocket all, but that's really the probably one of the more effective ways. And I'm not basing that off of any data I've seen, but if anyone wants to prove me wrong, go ahead, give me the facts. But I mean, I don't know. Like, you might think those kind of candidates, it's higher taxes. I don't like when the government takes the money that I'm working really hard for, and there's a whole other set of issues. I'll stay focused on this. You might think, in the context of charities, that a higher tax rate means, especially rich people or anyone in general will give less money to charity, from their own pockets. And, if the government takes more of their money, they have less extra cash to give, right? That sounds like a logical thing. Actually, it's the exact opposite, though. There's a good Wall Street Journal article. I'm putting the link in the video comments. It points out that in the 1970s, the top rate for taxes on the richest of people, it was 70%. And those people back then gave twice as much as the same top tax rate group in 2007, when the rates were 35%. So twice the rate on these people, and they were giving twice the amount of charity. I mean, it's a direct link. It has to do with like deductions and math. Protesting an increased tax rate for the rich or for anyone on the grounds that it'll make charitable donations go down, that's just not realistic in any way, shape, form either. Way, shape, or form, nah. Another thing that's not realistic is me staying up for another hour, 45 minutes. So I'm the man of Jackistan. I hope you enjoyed this. There's plenty more to come. Be safe. Fuck Trump. And, do those things. Be safe and fuck Trump.